Well, we are now 11 matches into the Premier League season, and we are starting to see a clearer picture of how things may pan out at both the top and bottom of the table. Manchester City have left their title rivals in their wake and enjoy an 8-point lead as we enter the international break, with the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and Raheem Sterling in irrepressible form. It's been another great week in sport with incredible action from the leagues across Europe. And can you imagine two of the finest tennis players of their generation play the sport in Scottish traditional outfit? That's exactly what Roger Federer and Andy Murray did while playing an exhibition game in Glasgow. Hello and welcome to another promising ride with me on Sport Week for this week. I'm Mayowa Ajayi on the show. Pep Guardiola's Manchester City have left everyone in their wake, but is there still plenty of time for things to change? We'll find out on Top Story. Andy Murray had his season blighted by a hip injury since Wimbledon, but the great made a gentle return with an exhibition game against Roger Federer in Scotland. That's on Side View. And European Football League is on hold this weekend as we observe the international break. We bring you the last round of action from the top Euro leagues on Top Action. The program is Sport Week. Well, Manchester City are operating on a different level to their Premier League title rivals, and they look unstoppable too. It is time for another international break and a chance to sit back and ponder who is flying high in the Premier League and who is falling short. Arsenal and Liverpool are only inside the top 6 because of a greater goal difference than Burnley, and they will have some catching up to do in the lead up to Christmas. City, meanwhile, are still unbeaten and sit top of the table by 8 points, and will take some stopping if they can maintain this level of energy and excitement. So can anyone catch them?
Fernandinho forward force. He's onside. He's got all the time in the world to find Jesus.
Irresistible, irrepressible, Manchester City are still unbeaten. City are on a tear in the Premier League. 110, drawn 1, lost none. It says it all. Manchester City have all the talent they could possibly need to win the Premier League and are operating on a different level to the others. They've scored 38 times this season, with the Manchester neighbours the nearest to that on 23. They came through the latest test against Arsenal with a 3-1 win. City will take some stopping if they can maintain this level of energy and excitement.
And it's the record breaker, Sergio Aguero against Petr Cech. Kind little kiss off the inside of the post.
The football they have been playing this season has been quite something, and the summer recruitment drive has had an influence. Kyle Walker in particular has helped solve half of the fullback problem from last season, while £34.7 million goalkeeper Ederson has been a smart buy. And Raheem Sterling, he looks like a new buy.
We're defending with the ball, we're not just defending without it. When we have the ball, we're defending at the same time, so it's a great team to be involved in.
I'm so happy. It's a process, so we will be recognized if we win the titles.
As good as they are, City have a number of flaws.
Here's Alex Lacazette as Arsenal look to halve the deficit, and they've done exactly that.
For all Guardiola's spendings in the summer, the backline still looks uncertain. Delph has been co-opted as a makeshift left-back following Benjamin Mendy's long-term injury, while John Stones and Nicolas Otamendi still show signs of uncertainty at the heart of the back four. The suspicion remains that at some point City's defence will undermine the brilliant forward line. Also, Mourinho's approach is very different, and where City have drawn praise, United have engendered scorn. Manchester United spent in a way which should have delivered them swagger and self-expression. They had done well against lesser sides, but the failure of Never tactics and that goalless draw at Liverpool destroyed all the momentum and looked not to have the courage to pursue the challenge. Injuries have not been fair on United though, having top guns back Paul Pogba, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Marcos Rojo, we will see them recover some of that momentum.
Of course we miss some important players, especially.
champions Chelsea have underperformed. Antonio Conte has admitted that it is increasingly unlikely anyone will be able to catch Manchester City in the Premier League title race. Conte held his hands up and acknowledged just how good City are and how difficult it will be for Chelsea, United or anyone else to catch them. Boosted by the victory over Manchester United, Conte could do well with having a change of mind. Manchester City won't go unbeaten like Arsenal did, says Pep Guardiola. The first Manchester derby of the season is on the weekend of December 9 at Old Trafford. Could that be where the cookie crumbles for the blue side of Manchester?
That's incredible what a story is turning out to be then for Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola, who seemed to be assembling something very, very special at the Etihad. The 38 goals are scored, 10 wins in the Premier League and just a single draw this season. He's left everyone in their wake, and what a story is been is turning this side gradually into that famous Barcelona side when he won everything available for Barcelona in Spain. I've got sports journalist Sayo Owolabi with me in the studio for this one. Hello Sayo, how are you?
Mayowa, great to be here once again.
All right, and what more can we say about Manchester City and Pep Guardiola? He seemed to be in a league of his own as we speak. Is he destined for this title, right?
Oh well, we can say so with the current position, but of course we know it's still early days, 11 games played, still about 26, 27 games still to play. It's a long journey, but the truth is, with the shape of things, we see players on the bench, we see the guys who are doing the bit on the field, we know it's a boisterous side and everyone should be scared, and it looks like they're destined for it, but then it's still early days.
And the start seemed very impressive. You heard me say there, 10 wins and a single draw so far this season, 38 goals scored. Who really can stop them?
Well, best stats I've seen in it, maybe in the life of the Premier League, and it's really great for them. It seems they can only be the ones to stop themselves in talking about injuries, maybe backroom problems and all that. But as it stands at the moment, everything is going good for Manchester City, for Pep Guardiola, and it doesn't seem like anyone can stop them. But then we know how a few international breaks can put a dent on your stride, and maybe that may just be happening anytime soon. But that's not a wish though.
One thing seems shocking though, they're not just, as winning, they are playing fascinating football as well.
And that's what everyone is scared about. I watched the game, I think it was that game against Crystal Palace, where Loftus-Cheek had missed so many chances before they started out in that game. And having gone 3 goals up, Crystal Palace, or was it Stoke City? I think it was the Stoke City game. Stoke came back with 2 goals through Diouf, and it was almost like they were going to shock Manchester City, but it wasn't going to happen. They put 4 more goals in to end the game 7-2. That is just the stuff of champions. Everything they've shown this season is the stuff of champions. I remember people talking about the fact that their defense is not solid because Vincent Kompany is not there, but we've seen that defense has been able to hold its own. And at the end of the day, it's really not Otamendi. And at the end of the day, it's not really about how much of the defending you can do. If your opponent can score 10 goals and you score 12 goals, you get to win a game. So they are scoring goals, and that's working for the side.
And then how much credit should go to Pep Guardiola then in the way he's been able to reshape this side?
Well, yes, money well spent. That's what I'll say, because we'll look on the other side, Manchester, and look on the other at the Everton, also 3rd in the rankings, talking about the teams that spent in summer, and they are not gelling. They're not giving that quality that one would have expected, and that's what we see with the Manchester City side. Everyone they've brought in has something to put on the table, to bring to the field, and to make a difference in the side. And the guys who they met there are also not resting on their horse, and everything is working well for them. So money well spent for him. He's been able to rebuild the side. He's been able to change their mentality, and it's working well for Pep Guardiola and Manchester City.
Oh, well, it's still a long way to go in the course of this season. Just 11 matches played. We still got a very, very long season ahead of us. But
Definitely.
Is it too early for us to earmark them as a candidate for the Invincibles, just like we saw Arsenal?
Oh, well, I'd love to give that title maybe as candidates, or candidates would pass because they're not crowned yet. But at the end of the season is only when we can actually come up with that. But they look like it, but I'm not sure they can go that full off. Not in the present day English Premier League, and that's the truth.
Would you consider them as we speak? There's been a lot of comparison between them and some incredible sides in the Premier League era. Would you consider them the best ever side in the Premier League era?
Definitely not. Definitely not. The class of '92 gave us something unthinkable in 1999. That's talking about Manchester United. That side that won the treble. So if they're going to really rank amongst the best, rank amongst those kind of quality sides, then they need to do the treble and maybe top it up and win something much more than just the treble. So we keep our fingers crossed and see how that goes. But we know how these things can be. Cups are different from the league itself, and that's why we need a treble in present day era. Just like them going the whole season without losing a game will be a very tough call for Manchester City.
Well, then let's look at the sides playing catch up to Manchester City right now. You've got Tottenham, who are 8 points behind. Manchester United are 8 points behind, and Chelsea are further 1 point behind Manchester City. Who among these sides you think can put City on their toes?
Well, United, when all injuries are put behind them, we know the coach has been talking about Zlatan, Pogba, and Raul. And the truth is, I think these three guys would actually add a lot of solidity to the Manchester United side. Raul in terms of centre-back pairing with Eric Bailly, we saw them last season together. They were phenomenal and they brought a lot to the table, both in the league and in the Europa League, which they went on to win and qualify for the Champions League. So Raul quality. Pogba definitely would have had some bits of steel and finesse to the midfield, which we all see is lacking in creativity. And definitely Zlatan Ibrahimovic would have come in handy with the lack of goals from what's his name now, Lukaku at the moment. Yes, everyone is talking about supply, but even when he gets the few chances outside the box, you expect him to do the unthinkable, and I think one man who can do that is Zlatan Ibrahimovic. That's talking about Manchester United. Another team I think would be able to push them all the way is Chelsea. Definitely from just crown champions from last season. They have everything within their arsenal, including that man on the sideline, Antonio Conte. If he is not distracted by, every other thing, internal issues around Chelsea, the field. Yeah. So I think Manchester United and Chelsea definitely. Tottenham would always be there and thereabout, but I don't see them pushing Manchester City all the way for the league title. It would
definitely be an interesting January transfer windows for these top sides, because a lot of them are looking to bolster their squad in the January transfer window just to keep pace with Manchester City.
What City is doing. Yes,
who have got a lot of depth in that squad as we speak.
Everyone wants to build depth in the side. Everyone wants to add quality to their bench, so that because you're competing on different fronts, maybe until everything shapes up by January, February, and you know who is going to still continue in what tournament, and the FA Cup would be added to it in the new year. Everyone definitely wants to add more quality to their bench, and that's what the big sides will be going to do in the January transfer window.
Okay, talking about Jose Mourinho, he says 8 points is nothing in the Premier League. Well, admittedly so. Chelsea were 8 points behind last season. They ended up as champions. Yeah. But how huge is this gap between City, United, Chelsea and Tottenham?
Well, the size of the gap between the sides would be based on the quality of the side you're chasing. And that's the worrying thing. The chasing pack, if it was a team that was just knocking up the results, not in this kind of fine form and class that they're doing it, then you can start thinking of chasing them all the way and probably catching them before the December break, the holiday period. But as it is with the City side, you don't even see where the problem will come from. And that's the thing at the moment. Everyone, yes, we can do all the talking. I remember United chased this same City side 8 points all the way till goal difference settled it with that goal from Sergio Aguero, winning the title for them just a few years back. And that's what would matter at the end of the day. They're scoring goals, so even if it comes down to equal on points with any of the sides who are chasing them, we know we will get to win it with the goal difference. So it's about the quality with which they are getting the results, and that's the worrying thing for the chasing pack.
And United seem to have gone off the boil a little bit since the injury to Paul Pogba. There is something not right there, really.
It has always been there. I remember lots of fans celebrating when they were winning 4-0, especially at Old Trafford. And I said, let's look at the quality of play still. 1. 2, let's look at the time the goals were coming in. The only difference between this season and last season is the fact that they go all the way till about 10 minutes to the end of the game, and the opposition equalizes, because we know how many games they actually drew from last season. But that's not happening this season. Good. At the start of the season. But now we saw the loss to Huddersfield. That's a game that should have been in the bag. We saw the loss to Chelsea. That's a game you probably could still say, if it was the United of old, you would nick a point from it. So That's the concern for them. Maybe Pogba coming back would change that. We can't really say. But I think beyond Pogba, like I said, Ibra coming in also would add some quality to the attack and maybe a few difference in the way they approach their goal scoring in there. But more than that, everyone needs to bring in a good shift. And at the end of the day, it comes down to individual brilliance to actually nick some of the games in the Premier League.
Quickly, can you name 2-3 players you think are not United standard?
At the moment, what's the central defenders? Lindelof, first of all, and it's unfortunate because he was bought by Mourinho. Yeah. Lindelof definitely doesn't look like it. Lingard for me. Okay. Yes, he shows up sometimes at Wembley, but we don't play all the games at Wembley. So maybe Lingard and I'd have said Ashley Young. But we see his delivery when he's in the right frame of mind. Might be good, but I think I'll add him to that list since I'm coming up with just 3 players. Okay, looking at that City's City depth now in squad, who would you say is Pep Guardiola's key man this season? Do we need to talk about that? It's definitely Kevin De Bruyne. It's the man who's running things in midfield. David Silva has had to take a back burner, just showing up once in a while. But it's all down to Kevin De Bruyne. I saw that game against Arsenal, and the goal he scored, the first goal in that game. Even Guardiola was not expecting. You saw the reaction. But it just, like I said, individual brilliance. He just took the shot, and it went in, and that goal actually shaped that game.
Let's project now, quickly, to next May. Who do you think, honestly, and objectively, who do you think will be celebrating that title triumph come May next year?
Looking at what we say at the moment, it's definitely Manchester City. Okay. And I don't think anyone will begrudge them if it actually happens. The side is solid, they're playing good football, they're scoring goals. Of course, we all enjoy what they're doing in the Premier League at the moment. So it looks like Manchester City. But then, it's still early days.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Sayo Owolabi, for your time.
Always a pleasure being here, Mayowa.
Okay, we've been talking to Sayo Owolabi there. Andy Murray has sometimes fallen foul of his public image as the archetypal Scot, but he was happy to play up the stereotypes at a charity tennis event in Glasgow during the week. Wearing a tartan Sayo Jimmy hat, Murray lost to a kilt wearing Roger Federer in an exhibition match at Andy Murray Live, an evening of tennis that raises money for UNICEF and young people's future. Looking suitably Caledonian in a kilt borrowed from a woman in the crowd, Federer also got into the spirit of things on the tennis court.
Andy Murray has not been seen on court since Wimbledon, and the Scot looked a little different as he donned a tam shanty complete with ginger wig for a charity match against Roger Federer in Glasgow. Murray, who revealed he will not return for the Australian Open in January unless he is 100% fit, came through an hour and 40 minutes against the Swiss master. But Federer, who joined in the fun by wearing a kilt in the second set, won 6-3, 3-6, 10-6. It has been an exciting few days for Murray, who became a father for the second time. His wife, Kim, who he married in 2015, gave birth to a baby girl last week. Before Federer started larking around in a kilt, Murray played a competitive enough set of tennis against the Swiss master to suggest he could return in earnest in the new year. In front of his own people, 11,000 of them in Glasgow's SSE Hydro Arena, Murray showed he has not forgotten how to hit a tennis ball. The 30-year-old Scot moved with less than sublime ease, but showed he can still run when he needs to.
There was a sneak attack, but no one to see him.
His pre-match assessment that he was playing at 75 to 80% looked about right, as he nominally managed to take the second set against Federer in this match for UNICEF and local children's charities. Murray has been vague about the exact nature of his hip problem, something he's entitled to be as an individual athlete, and is still reluctant to give too much detail. He confirmed that he still intends to go to America for some kind of winter training block, but will alter his normal schedule. While the score should not have too much attention paid to it, the deciding break saw him don a ginger wig at 5-7. Murray must have been pleased with the way he moved after 4 months away from the match court. If anything, his movements got better as it went on, and he seemed to trust his troublesome hips more than at the start.
I hit a few good passing shots there, nice lobs and stuff when Roger was coming forward. Obviously he's a very aggressive player, so you often need to come up with great shots, you know, if you want to beat them. So managed to come up with some good ones there.
Just to have a one plan, because it depends on how he's going to serve. I'm going to try to focus on making a lot of first serves, so maybe I can get the first hit in, try to make him play on his serves. I think indoors it's always good to come to the net, so maybe you'll see me more at net, so he has to hit some passing shots, and I'll cover down the line, because I know he likes to pass over there. And then I'm going to knock the volley away, and then I'm going to hopefully win the tiebreaker.
Federer, who next week has more serious business of the ATP World Tour Finals in London, was made to work hard for plenty of points and seemed impressed and pleased to see Andy playing so well. Despite finishing the year behind Nadal in the world rankings, Federer is the odds-on favourite to finish his incredible year with victory in London. The 36-year-old beat Marin Cilic in the final at SW19 to win his second slam of the year, following his victory at the Australian Open in January. The season-ending ATP World Tour Finals begins on Sunday, featuring the world's top 8 men's players. World number 1 Rafael Nadal and 6-time champion Federer are the top 2 seeds. Federer, Cilic, Alexander Zverev and America's Jack Sock make up Boris Becker group, while world number 1 Nadal heads up a Pete Sampras group featuring Dominic Thiem, Grigor Dimitrov and David Goffin. The top 2 players from each group will progress to the semi-finals on the round-robin tournament, which takes place at London's O2 Arena from November 12th to November 19th.
Manchester City remain unbeaten this season with 10 wins and a draw in the Premier League. Pep Guardiola's men have scored 38 times this season, with their Manchester neighbours United the nearest to that on 23. They came through their latest test against Arsenal with a 3-1 win, and champions Bayern Munich outclassed title rivals Borussia Dortmund 3-1 to go 4 points clear at the top of the German Bundesliga and stress their perfect run under coach Jupp Heynckes. Let's remind you of some of the action in Europe's top leagues before the international break.
Manchester United this season have played 17 complete games and kept 12 clean sheets. Theirs is the hardest door to beat down. Azpilicueta. Chelsea have beaten down United's door. The drought ends for Alvaro Morata, and the champions lead Manchester United.
Well, that's not a bad way of breaking a sequence without goals for Morata, but what happened to the match?
Put across the goalkeeper, right into the far corner. He's got no...
They down! Now the referee's got a decision to make, and that decision is a penalty.
Subsequent penalty.
And it's the record breaker, Sergio Aguero against Petr Cech. Kind little kiss off the inside of the post. Iwobi with a clever turn. Ramsey, Lacazette to his right-hand side. Here's Alex Lacazette as Arsenal look to halve the deficit, and they've done exactly that. Game on again. Silva. Fernandinho forward for Silva. He's onside. He's got all the time in the world to find Jesus.
right, Slaven Bilic was sacked by West Ham United on Monday following a string of poor results in the Premier League with David Moyes named as his replacement. We reported this story and others during the week. It's time to do a recap of them all on Flashback.
Slaven Bilic was sacked on Monday as West Ham manager with the team rooted in the Premier League relegation zone. Bilic's last game in charge was the 4-1 defeat by Liverpool at the London Stadium. Former Italy midfielder Andrea Pirlo also announced he is retiring from football after playing his last game for New York City. The 38-year-old won 116 caps for Italy and helped them win the 2006 World Cup. Former Everton, Manchester United and Sunderland manager David Moyes was confirmed as the new manager of West Ham United on Tuesday. Moyes resigned as manager of Sunderland in May after their relegation to the Championship. Olympic marathon winner Jemima Sumgong was banned for 4 years after her claim that she was taking EPO for an ectopic pregnancy was rejected. Sumgong, the first Kenyan woman to win Olympic marathon gold, was officially banned on October the 31st, but it will be backdated to April the 3rd. Nigeria women's striker Sisat Oshoala was crowned as the best striker in the Chinese Women's Super League for the 2017 season. She scored 2 goals and provided 2 assists to help Dalian Quanjin win the Chinese Women's Super Cup. Oshoala ended the football season with the triple award of the Golden Boot for the highest goal scorer, the Super Cup and the league. Confederation of African Football (CAF) named a strong African 11 with Victor Moses and Leon Balogun included after helping Nigeria qualify for the 2018 World Cup in Russia.
And okay, we are gradually winding down on the show for the week. But before we say goodbye for this week's edition, let's give you a hint of what's coming up in sports next week. After their Dead Rubber World Cup qualifying clash against Algeria, Nigeria Super Eagles will be back against Argentina on Tuesday, albeit in an international friendly. Other countries will also be in action that same day as Botswana take on Ghana, Russia face Spain, Belgium plays Japan, it's Germany against France, while England entertain Brazil. The ATP Finals is the second highest tier of men's tennis tournament after the 4 Grand Slam tournaments. The tournament is held annually each November at the O2 Arena in London. It features the top 8 singles players and doubles teams of the ATP rankings and was first held in 1970. Roger Federer, Marin Cilic, Alexander Zverev and America's Jack Sock are drawn in the Boris Becker group, while world number 1 Rafael Nadal heads up a Pete Sampras group featuring Dominic Thiem, Grigor Dimitrov and David Goffin. Federer holds the record for the most singles titles. Alright, that's all from us for Sports Week for this week. I'm Mayowa Ajayi. The show will be back again next week. Till then, have a great weekend and bye for now.